Hello, Galactic Castaways. This is Alpha Control, the podcast about Irwin Allen's classic sci-fi adventure TV series, Lost in Space. I am your mission controller for this podcast, Colonel Lane August, and I'm joined by my trusty co-controller, Dr. Kurt Kirsteiner. Kurt and I are old college chums, children of the 1960s, and most importantly, big fans of Lost in Space. Welcome aboard as we blast off together to celebrate Irwin Allen's Lost in Space. Now, let's get ready to launch. Welcome back, folks, for a special episode of Alpha Control, a Lost in Space podcast. Today I'm flying the Jupiter 2 solo without my trusty co-host Kurt, but that's because we have two very special guests to interview, Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy. Well known to Lost in Space fans as the talented young actors who played Penny and Will Robinson, both performers have had successful show business careers before, during, and after their time getting lost in space. In fact, between the two of them, they've gone on to play numerous roles in dozens of movies and TV shows, racking up hundreds of appearances on both the big and small screen. But if that wasn't enough, these gifted go-getters are also multi-talented artists in a wide variety of creative fields. Angela's lifelong passion for art and photography led her to pursue a second career as an artist, as well as a jewelry and clothing designer, eventually establishing her own art studio, which can be explored online at angelacartwrightstudio.com. Bill Mumy, on the other hand, has also achieved fame as a gifted musician, singer, songwriter, voice artist, and producer. In addition to his prolific catalog of solo songs and recordings, Bill was the co-founder of the offbeat rock duo Barnes & Barnes, and a veteran member of the band America. In his recent musical endeavor, Bill teamed up with musicians Vicki Peterson of the Bangles and John Coswell of the Beach Boys to write and record as the rock group Action Skulls, who've released two critically acclaimed albums, 2017's Angel Here and 2020's A Different World. What's more, both artists are published authors. Angela's titles include her award-winning coffee table book, Styling the Stars, Lost Treasures from the 20th Century Fox Archive, and her art books titled Mixed Emulsions, In This House, and In This Garden, among others. Likewise, Bill's lasting fascination with comic books propelled him into a career creating and writing scores of them for both Marvel and DC. And in the early 1990s, he authored many issues of the celebrated Lost in Space comic book series for Innovation Comics. With all that going on, it's hard to believe this talented twosome have also co-written three other terrific books. Their first was their fantastic pictorial chronicle, Lost and Found in Space, followed by On Purpose, a sci-fi adventure novel for young adults. And now, their latest collaboration, the updated and expanded edition of their beautiful photographic memoir, Lost and Found in Space 2, for which, by the way, they will announce a special offer to Alpha Control listeners at the end of this interview. But first, as you can imagine, I've got a lot of questions for both of them. So get set to blast off for this fascinating conversation with Lost in Space stars Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy. Hey, Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy, thanks so much for being on Alpha Control. Wow, this is a real delight.
Hi, Lane.
Alpha Control, can you read me? Alpha Control.
They seem to be leaving our galaxy.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Wish that we could.
Oh, that's funny. Don't worry, Dr. Smith. We'll be all right. Oh no, this is just a real treat for me. And it's a double pleasure because normally I don't get to see the people that I'm interviewing. It's all done over the phone or Skype. But thanks to the miracles of modern Zoom technology, we're actually doing this by like a video conference call. So I can actually see the people that I'm talking to. And you both look great, by the way.
Oh,
So it's
thank you.
nice to see you.
Like your background there. That brings back some memories.
Yeah, I'm playing with all the features here. I'm trying to get my money's worth out of this Zoom thing. But hey, I want to start off by saying, obviously, you guys have big news. You've got a brand new book that you've just released in the last couple months here, and it's doing great business, I hear. And I just want to establish my Lost in Space fan credentials right off the bat and say, it's zonking out on me here, but I've got the book autographed and all, folks. So, and it is here
it is.
If I do that, I think it'll disappear into the ether there, but into the fifth dimension. There you go. I got that one autographed. Right. And it's a keeper. It's a real keeper. But, I'm just not a Johnny come lately because I actually have the first edition as well, which I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure you know. Basically, it's out of print, the first edition. Hence, it was about time to come up with a new edition. But I was doing research on the book, and you can't find this book anywhere. I was just wondering if you guys have an extra case of them lying around, the first edition. I might take it because there's a guy selling a copy of that for almost $5,000 on Amazon right now. Look it up. I kid you not.
Wow.
You can't find.
I just have any.
I just might have a few.
Maybe I can find some.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The cat's out of the bag. No, you can't find it on eBay. You can't find it on BNN. No place. So that's definitely a collector's item. And I think I may have to buy a couple extra of this next one because I'm sure it's on its way to being a collector's item. But now, this book couldn't have come at a better time. I mean, after the last couple of years with everything we've gone through, the pandemic, and of course, to the Lost in Space fan community, the passing of Kevin Burns was a real blow. I'm sure that affected both of you, didn't it?
Oh, the pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really so sad. He's always been an advocate for us and helped project the show forward and the Netflix show and this book, because he actually was behind us reviving this book and adding so much more to the original one. He had a lot of new pictures, and we talked about it, before he passed away. He said, "Oh my gosh, I've got all these pictures. I've got all these things. So much has happened. You were both in the Netflix movie.
Right.
All these things should be added." And so during the pandemic, that's what Bill and I, we did. We did a lot of behind the computer, writing this book and coming up with more written word for it.
Well, the loss of Kevin reverberates, on a daily basis. It's a huge loss. And if it weren't for Kevin, most everything that has happened with those three words, Lost in Space, over the last 30 years, if not for him, they probably wouldn't have occurred. He was a great champion of the series and the cast and every way you can imagine. But we did want to include a lot of many new stories that had never been told before in this book. And of course, we had discovered a huge cache of unseen photographs that needed to be shared. So the new book is a good thing. The world is in a sad, sorry mess, unfortunately. And if you can escape from that mindset by kind of letting your thoughts drift back to a Lost in Space time, it takes you out of reality for a little while, and that's a nice vacation.
Wow. Well, that's well said. Yeah, it is. Well, Lost in Space was an escape itself, right? I mean, that's we're all looking for a way to take a breather from reality every now and then, and Lost in Space sure fit that bill. I would ask you why an expanded edition, but you pretty much answered it already. But it's not a joke to say it's expanded. I think it's got something like 160 new pages over the first edition, something like 600 new images. And you were talking about the cache of photographs. I want to ask you, Angela, photography has been a passion of yours since the time you were on Lost in Space, maybe even before, right?
Right.
And so
excuse me. Yeah, my parents gave me a really nice Nikon camera when I was 15, and I was just hooked from then on. My dad was a photographer that kind of did it kind of as a hobby, kind of not, but yeah, I love taking pictures, and I still do.
Yeah. So the pictures that are in this book, did they primarily come from, well, you just tell me, what was the source, Kevin, or the Irwin Allen Archives, and what kind of state were they in? Were they prints, negatives, slides, all of the above? What were you dealing with to put this together?
Well, the thing about this particular upgrade book, there's a lot of personal pictures in there, pictures that both Bill and I took of each other and on the set and at conventions and, things that we went and celebrated Lost in Space. So there's like 900 pictures and images in this book. It's almost twice as big as the first one. We had a lot to say. We had a lot to say that we didn't say the first time around. And we realized there's all these stories and kind of never before told tales. And that was what Bill and I really explored. And we had the time to do it because we were, home. And it just kind of just came out as being so expanded. And there's a lot of pictures people have never seen before.
Oh, there sure are.
Well, one of the things is both Angela and I are not hoarders, but things have not been tossed out over the decades. And another thing about us both, which I think is interesting, is I've been in my home for 45 years, and Angela's been in her home for close to 40 years. So you have these things that are just piled up in the garage or in storage spaces around the house. And because we were pretty much in lockdown mode, it gave us the opportunity to explore lost items, so to speak, that we hadn't seen in decades. So I found so many little tchotchkes and really rare collectible bits from Lost in Space, various script things and call sheets and notes. And Angela found the same amount of stuff. And because we were pretty much not going out, we really scavengered through our collections and found a lot of stuff that we didn't even know we'd still had.
Oh, it's amazing.
I ended up with boxes of my parents, clippings and photographs that they had kept. And they both have passed away now. And I really haven't been able to emotionally kind of go through those boxes. And I did start to do that. And I found a lot of stuff in there. And, Bill's such a collector of memorabilia also. So, both of our parents did a really good job, I think, of keeping stuff. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when we're gone. I'm sure our kids are going to love that. I mean, there's just stuff, but it was kind of really cool to be able to put it in the book. And it was the stuff that came from Kevin had been digitally copied.
Sure.
And, we just scanned our new stuff. So it's really high quality, most of it. And then there were some pictures that fans and stuff have sent us over the years,
really?
From the conventions and things like that when we were on stage,
Yeah.
Well,
that's cool.
What else is interesting, I think, is the fact that, although the series ran for those 84 hours and 3 years, our relationship continued for decades. I mean, we stayed in school together after Lost in Space. Then we were a couple after Lost in Space. Then we were estranged. And then we were connected again with these personal appearances and reunion projects. And so the book is not just about the 3 years that the series was created, but it really is also our individual and collective stories as the two of us, because we've intermingled in a lot of different categories as people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's remarkable. It's like you've had a lifelong relationship with Lost in Space, and you've had a lifelong relationship with each other. It's so cool that that you've stayed friends and that you're so close to this day. And in fact, it seems like the entire cast is close. And that's a beautiful thing to see. I did get to meet you all at a convention in Boston back in 2018, and you could pick up on that right away. So that's something nice. They always say, be careful when you meet your heroes. You might be disappointed. Well, that was not the case with you four. That was you. Yeah, it was great.
That was some convention. I think we were all like, oh my God, that was the big convention with like how many thousands of people that
was a bunch.
It was
wacky, but it was much. But I want to say one thing before I forget. She'll skewer me if I don't. Lisa was my wife. She said this book is like Disneyland. You open it up and you find something new every time you go in there, because the way it's laid out is so cool. And the pictures are beautiful, like you said. And she was even complimenting. Of course, this is hardback, and the first edition was paperback, so there's an upgrade right there. But she says, "I love the paper. You really didn't spare any expense because it's really high quality all around."
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
we were happy with the way it printed.
Definitely. Yeah, it's really
and the cast really is family. And Angela, of course, and both of our careers go back many years before Lost in Space, but I haven't really known very many projects where the cast has bonded as permanently as the group from Lost in Space has. Beyond the sense of us doing personal appearances and reunion projects for financial gain. We've always stayed connected as friends. The ones, Marta Kristen lives in here in LA, and we've gathered with her nonstop for 50 some years. June Lockhart has always kept us together via cards, and she used to take us to rock and roll concerts. And Mark is like a brother. He lives on the East Coast, but he's really, I talk to him all the time, and we really are one big dysfunctional family.
Oh, well, I got to say, I just enjoy the heck seeing you guys interact. And one thing that surprised me out of all, well, there are a lot of surprises, but I had no idea that Mark Goddard was such a funny guy. It's dry, but I mean, he is a character, isn't he?
Oh my God. He's never grew up.
Yeah, he's one of a kind, and I love Mark, and I always, even when I was 11, there was this kind of fraternal energy between Mark and I. My mother absolutely loved Mark, but I always kind of felt like I was the big brother, and he was the kid brother.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, this book is a pictorial memoir, and I thought maybe it might be fun to just take a look at a couple of pictures here and there that, most of these are pictures from your book that might jog your memory. I had a couple questions for you if you're game here. Let me see if I can share this. I'll describe it as we go. And you're talking about the cast. So why don't we just start off at the beginning here? This is a very iconic color cast publicity photo.
Who's that new guy down there?
Oh, I can take myself out of the picture if you.
Funny.
But this is a great picture, isn't it?
It's a classic. This is the classic Lost in Space picture. Everybody in those spacesuits. This is probably the one you conjure up when you think about Lost in Space.
July 1965. Stage 11 at 20th Century Fox, the upper deck of the Jupiter 2. Those silver spacesuits were basically like firemen and race car drivers' suits. They were made out of heavy canvas, very hard to sit back in. And as you'll notice, the robot's claws were still silver, right? Because that was during our black and white season, and they didn't paint his claws red until the second season when we went to color.
Look at that set. I mean, this is so impressive. I don't think anything like this had been seen on TV. I mean, of course, we're spoiled today with they're spending millions of dollars per episode on the new Netflix series. So it's not a fair comparison, but this must have been I don't know. Was it as impressive to you standing there on that set as it was to us watching it on TV?
I think it is a fair comparison. I think that all of the foundational props and sets of Lost in Space were masterpieces. I mean, that set, the flares that went between the freezing tubes, the astrogator, the control systems, the elevator, which was functional, everything that Irwin put into as I said, the foundation, the Jupiter 2, the robot, the chariot, the interior decks, and to a degree, although it looks kind of funny sometimes now, the wardrobe. I mean, it had a very one-of-a-kind personal design, Lost in Space. And Irwin Allen spent a lot of money to get his initial projects launched and done correctly. And as things progressed, season 2, season 3, he got a little cheaper. But his initial launches were always very, very impressive. And I think the Lost in Space.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just, just reiterating.
Just we did share our aliens with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. They painted them a different color. But I don't think he ever wanted to be like cheap. He had a vision for what Lost in Space was going to be. And it sure, when we had the full spaceship on the set, with the dirt on the set, and we'd walk down those steps, and
very expensive dirt, dear. only the finest dirt.
But we were on a set. I mean, and then there was this full-size spaceship. I mean, I look back on it and I was very impressed with the whole thing. It felt like home, for one thing. We spent so many hours on it. And our costumes the first year, very, very uncomfortable. I'm looking at Bill with his arms, on his hips, and I'm thinking, God, if you did that for more than 5 minutes, it stopped the circulation in your arms. I mean, it just did.
Yeah.
It was just so stiff. It was like having on a cardboard suit. But then they came out with LeMay.
Yeah.
That whole thing we explain that in the book. And then we got new spacesuits that were much
well,
more.
I wish I had taken a few of the foam rubber rocks of the alien campsite home with me.
That looked good in your back.
They'd be very collectible today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was one of the fun things when you went to color. Everything had to be some sort of wild, vivid color. I mean, I can't tell you how many purple rocks you see in season 2. They're all just. But it pops, I mean, that's color TV was new. They were going to get their money's worth. And Irwin had to pay more, to go from black and white to color. And he's basically, the way I understand this, and I'm not the expert on TV, is basically, betting on the fact that he's going to be able to get this show into syndication. So he's basically, the network's not paying what it costs to produce the episodes, no matter how cheap you might say Irwin's being. He's trying to be smart about this whole thing, is the way I understand it.
Oh, he was a regular Barnum and Bailey kind of a guy, and he was certainly smart. His career for the next 15 years or so after Lost in Space proves his acumen was on track. It's interesting also to note that, Lost in Space, it falls in that mid 60s era of pop art.
Right.
And when the culture of the entire planet, basically thanks to the Beatles, was changing so rapidly globally. And, the colors that you see in Lost in Space seasons 2 and seasons 3 are just psychedelic, really representing that short period of time. Plus the music. Let's as we're discussing the finer points of Lost in Space, the music cannot be underestimated. The themes by John Williams and the other composers and the full orchestras that were used to score the series.
Brilliant.
Very, very wonderful stuff. It really helped the series in every possible way.
Wow. Yeah. You don't have to sell me on it, because that 12 CD set of the original soundtrack is sort of like my Bible, because we reference that quite a lot when we're doing our episode reviews. It is so iconic, that music, and I think John Williams himself was quoted as saying, Lost in Space was sort of his training ground for doing the music for Star Wars and all these other films, Indiana Jones and so forth. It's
absolutely.
It's beautiful.
You have
It's
to start somewhere. We were very lucky to get him, though.
Oh, yeah. I definitely hear similarities in certain cues from other John Williams scores that harken back to Lost in Space. You go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And to me, I'm sure Mark Hamill is one of my best friends, but I will say that the trio of Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and R2-D2
right.
always reminds me of Smith, Will, and the robot. There are similar qualities there. I mean, C-3PO is so Dr. Smith. Oh dear.
Forget about it. And this is something my buddy that when we're reviewing the episodes, we comment on this all the time. I mean, there are literally scenes from Lost in Space episodes that are almost frame for frame redos, like the Jupiter 2 being sucked into the derelict spaceship. Is that not just like the Millennium Falcon going in a tractor beam into the Death Star?
Absolutely.
I mean, Dr. Smith is always saying, wait for me, and C-3PO, that's one of his throwaway lines, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It's a they say imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. So I guess you got to take it when you can get it, right? So
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let me throw up another picture here that might spark some conversation here, and you can tell me this one. I got a real kick out of this one when I saw it.
Ah! Oh my God! What episode was that?
That is actually from it. Oh,
second season.
No. Guess, Bill. Do you have a guess? I can give you a
hint.
It
obviously. It's the end of the first season. It's not The Keeper yet, though, so I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
Just because this outfit was my second season, but was it the yellow one?
It's the yellow one.
Yeah.
Shows in the yellow one. Yeah.
Right. I'll give you a hint. You've just seen, of all things, a werewolf.
Ah!
You keep hinting.
And the werewolf's name was Keel, and he was a hillbilly with a family of hillbillies. It's from the Space Croppers.
With Sherry Jackson.
Yes. Yes, Sherry Jackson, and that was a really
Sadie's McCambridge, but of course Angela had worked with Sherry Jackson when she was really, really little on the Danny Thomas Show. And Sherry Jackson was just turbo gorgeous, wasn't she? Woo! Absolutely.
Oh, she's killer, and she's an alum of three of my favorite shows from the era: Lost in Space, the original Star Trek, and Batman.
Right.
She was a guest star on all three of those series, which is an indication of that she must have been in high demand. This move here where Jonathan is using Will or both of you as human shields, more or less. That's kind of one of his signature moves. It's very funny and everything, but I don't know if you remember this or not. I've always wondered, was this stage directed or was this something that Jonathan came up with on his own? Do you have any idea about that?
Oh, it was all Jonathan.
Is that right?
Smith, after the first 3 or 4 episodes, was completely Jonathan's design and architecture, from the dialogue to the comedic reactions to the alliterative insults to the robot. Jonathan whittled what was the original Dr. Smith into the Dr. Smith that we all remember. He always wisely explained that Dr. Smith was originally such a snarling villain that he probably would have been written out of the show one way or another if he had carried on in that nefariously dark way. So he turned him because he wanted to keep a gig, and that's the truth.
Wow.
And no one loved Lost in Space more than Jonathan. No one.
Yeah.
I mean, we all loved it, but nobody was a bigger fan of the series than Jonathan, and nobody appreciated the success of the show more than Jonathan. And he was gracious and he was gregarious, and he was almost what you saw in the character. Certainly not the cowardice and the screaming kind of guy, but he was a bigger than life character for real. He had created the persona of Jonathan Harris,
right?
And then Jonathan Harris created the persona of Dr. Zachary Smith, and in some ways they were very much the same.
I always remember when Jonathan sometimes would get the biggest kick out of some of the silly thing that he had to say. And he would go, isn't this ridiculous? I mean, he absolutely loved it and totally was professional, knew what he was going to say, knew his lines, was a very giving performer to act with. And he, kudos to him. He made Dr. Smith what Dr. Smith was.
That's true.
He was funny. I loved him. Call me Angelino.
Yeah.
He was great to work with.
That's beautiful.
Totally loved Jonathan. And when I don't know why he was given carte blanche so early on within the season to completely rewrite his own dialogue, but he was, and that's a subject matter that I can't explain why that was given to him, that amount of freedom, creative freedom. But I would memorize, my scripts on the weekend, and I would go into work every day prepared to do what was written in the script. And a lot of my work was with Jonathan. And before we would go on set, the second assistant director would pull me out of the school trailer, but take me to Jonathan's dressing room. And Jonathan would say to me, "Let's go over the scene, Billy Person." And I'd say, "Yeah, I know it." He goes, "No, you don't." and he'd say, forget what's in the script. I shall say, and then I shall say, and then I shall say, and then you shall say your line. Okay. And then I shall say, and I shall say, and I shall say this, and I shall say this, and then you will say your line.
I'll never forget too that we had pages and pages that were different colors because they would keep all the new editions would be new pages, and they'd be bringing them around. We'd have 5 or 6 blue pages, and then they'd be pink, and our scripts were like little rainbows where they would be changed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you both made mention in the book that he was also something of a teacher or a mentor to you. I mean, he taught you how to deal with the cast, or not the cast, but the crew, and treating people nicely and things like that. I was very touched by what you had to say about that.
Well, Jonathan led by example. I can't say that by the time either Angela or myself started working on Lost in Space, we didn't know how to behave or how to treat a crew or how to do our work professionally, because we certainly did. But Jonathan, by example, reminded everybody that this is the way you want to be. Every day he would treat the crew at 4:00 to a sweet treat, usually a Tootsie Roll Pop. And the thing about Jonathan, as opposed to some other actors, he never came to work unprepared. Jonathan was a one-take guy. And that doesn't mean he wasn't happy to do it another time or two if needed. But, Jonathan, when it was time to work with Jonathan, he was ready to go. And, that was really, I think, one of the reasons why the show shifted into so much of his character, because he really saved the directors and the cinematographer and everyone else on the crew a lot of time. Sometimes it doesn't matter how famous you might be. Sometimes people come to work and they kind of know their lines, or they're kind of in a good mood, or they kind of know what they're doing. Yeah. But, it takes them 5 or 6 kind of things to find their groove or get into it or do a take that is acceptable. And not with Jonathan. He was always pretty much a one-take guy.
That's wild. Well, that's good stuff. I want to pop up another picture here because I can't resist showing this one. Just a second here. Let me find this one. Here we go. Now this one is another cast photo, staged, but it's not exactly what you would expect. It's a pretty famous picture, I think. It's more or less a takeoff on a Mad Magazine issue, isn't it? There, Bill.
Oh, absolutely. It was June's idea. Mad Magazine had produced Loused Up in Space in 1966. Mort Drucker, the great Mort Drucker, had done the artwork for it. And June gathered us to pose in the expressions of the characters that had been satired and done in Mad Magazine, and sent it to Mad. And Mad printed it in their letters section. And it took, I guess, close to 50 years for Kevin Burns to add Jonathan and the robot into the photograph, because originally it had just been the six of us without Jonathan and the robot. So it's a complete cast shot now, based on the Mad
June
Magazine.
Had such fun putting this together. She had a wonderful sense of humor, and I remember it was just we were all giggling. We thought it was so funny. I remember looking at the actual magazine and say, oh, okay, this is I've got these big cheeks, and how we interpreted ourselves as the way that Mort Drucker had drawn us. It was just a lot of fun. I love doing this, and I love that shot.
Yeah,
me too.
That's great that Kevin was able to pop Jonathan and B9 in there. That's very, very cool. I hope you're enjoying our special interview with Lost in Space stars Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy as much as I am. They've got more to share about their new book, Lost in Space, and much more. So sit tight for part 2 of our interview with Bill Mumy and Angela Cartwright. Well, another thing I wanted to mention while we were talking about different people from the show is unsung heroes. And you talk about these people and the different people that, actually during the time the series was on, no one knew who they were. And let's look at this picture. There's old B9. That's a shot of you, Bill, with the robot on the Ghost Planet from season 2, which is a fun favorite of mine. That's got the cyborgs in the background there. But when the show was on, nobody really knew who was inside and who was talking for the robot, did they?
No, it was definitely a mandated secret in terms of wanting the network and the studio, and Irwin obviously wanted little kids to believe that the robot was a real mechanical machine and was not just a fiberglass prop with Bobby May inside of it. Nobody worked harder than Bob May. You had to not be able to relate to the word claustrophobic to get inside that prop, which he obviously wasn't. Yeah, he obviously wasn't the slightest bit claustrophobic, because Bobby loved being inside that box. It was a very dangerous prop to be inside of. There were batteries, there were wires, there were electrical systems. If anything had shorted out, it was not an easy thing to get him out of that suit. It took a couple of guys and a couple of minutes. Bobby memorized and delivered all of the robot's dialogue. But of course, it sounded like a guy inside a box. It wasn't worthy of being broadcast that way. And also, let's be honest, Dick Tufeld had one of the greatest voice tones in the history of voiceover artists. And Dick supplied the recorded voice of the robot. Although for the years that we made the series, we very rarely, if ever, saw Dick. Dick would come in and overdub his dialogue on the scoring stage, and didn't really come to the set. So Dick was a bit of a mystery, although of course we knew of Dick. Right. He was a bit of a mystery until we started doing reunions, and then he became a very close, almost family friend, a wonderful guy.
Lovely family too.
Yeah, great family. And again, Bobby was worked really, really, really hard. Bobby was quite a character.
Well, he made you feel like that robot was really alive. I mean, some of his, just the subtle things he would do, like with the little turning of the bubble or the ear sensors, or the up and down of the bubble reacting. And, the way that Jonathan played against that was just perfect. It was just something, something to see. I mean, I think that I wanted to have that robot when I was Will Robinson's age. I wanted that robot so bad. And, it's amazing now. There are people that actually build beautiful replicas of these things. And it's just breathtaking to see those things in person. It's amazing.
Yes. A B9 robot can be yours for the simple sum of $18,000.
That's right. If you can afford it. Well, there were some other, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. There was
Bobby
a couple.
did create those. Just to give him credit, he wasn't taught any of that stuff. He did create the spinning of. He'd bring his arms in and spin the torso around, and he created the waving arm things. He had a little teletype type button in his left claw that had to sync up to the neon illumination when he spoke. So for every syllable that the robot spoke, Bobby punched a little key in the claw, which illuminated the red neon, and then Dick matched the flashing lights of the neon to the synchronization of the voice. It was complicated, and
it was, but you can't get somebody that was more committed than Bobby May. He literally was the robot. He took it very seriously.
More committed and more committable.
He definitely did love that robot.
Oh man,
Bobby was so kooky, man. I mean, he was really kooky. He painted the upper of his face black because they didn't want to see any kind of like face behind the plexiglass, hexagon. Anyway, so Bobby would deliver offstage dialogue when it was someone else's close-up. Of course, we had a script supervisor who was capable of doing that, but actors like to give each other, that kind of proper energy. So Bobby would usually be delivering off-camera dialogue for the robot. Well, his son was being born. His wife was in labor delivering his son, and they were shooting a close-up of me, and Bobby was like, no, I'll stay and deliver the off-camera dialogue for Billy. And everybody said, Bobby, get the hell out of here, get to the hospital and go be with your son. So Bobby shows up in the hospital with the black raccoon makeup on. He also went to a bank one day. He also went to a bank one day at lunch with that black makeup on, and he almost got, in trouble because they thought he might be robbing the bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well,
Angela and I used to go to lunch off lot together with our mothers quite often. And we would go to Century City, which was, basically walking distance. We drove, but it was so close.
Brand new at the time.
Right, to the studio. And we would go, and 9 times out of 10, we would be in our full wardrobe. We wouldn't change for lunch. We would just keep the velour and the bright colors on and go to lunch over there. And she'd get after lunch, Angela would get a British invasion album, and I'd get some folk album, or she'd get a Nancy Drew book and I'd get a Hardy Boy book. But nobody ever, and this is true, we must have done that, I don't know, 40 times at least, right? And nobody ever said anything. Like, no, it wasn't even like, oh, look, there's Angela Cartwright and Billy Mumy from Lost in Space. There not only was there none of that, there was not even anything like, why are you dressed like that? Nothing, which really tells you how weird the 60s were.
Yeah.
It was. We definitely were right in the middle of that one. And to this day, Bill loves velour. And what cracks me up is velour is starting to come back. I mean, like seeing velour pants. I'm like, oh my God, how crazy is that?
I know.
Very colorful.
It's very colorful, and it was certainly part of that era with a lot of other things. It's funny. You guys were talking in the book as well about that. It was kind of hard work making. You guys had like 6 days, I think, to film a single episode, and that's not a lot of time. But those were long days, and it wasn't just the time you spent on set. You also make mention, Angela, you had to get up and get in the makeup chair. And there was one particular photo that I wanted to pull up here that you made mention of. Oh, not this one. Oh, but we could talk about this one since we were talking about costumes. How about that?
Groovy, baby. Look at that. Yeah. Got my little Courage outfit on with my Courage boots and my mini skirt, season 3. What did you want to talk about?
Why I had a crush on her.
Why my hair was so short.
Well, it's funny. You guys got a costume change, I guess, just about every season. And I think I read in the book, you said this was your favorite of the
it was
of the costumes.
Very comfy. The pants always had like a thing under the foot to keep them straight, kind of like riding pants. This was like a no-brainer and so fun to wear. Just a little dress, little swingy dress. The hardest thing, though, during this particular 3rd season was the fact that word came down from the tower or whatever it was that my hair looked like a shawl. I had very long, dark hair, very, come on, let's, face it, the times was, flower girl. Flower power and all that. And I didn't want to cut my hair. So we came to a compromise where my hair was braided under that little wig every morning.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
And a sneeze.
I had no idea that was a wig. It looked very natural, but that I'm not an expert. Wig. Yeah.
It started here, and then I had that little bow thing. Yeah, it was just a little half wig that every morning they braided my long hair under that.
That's wild.
That was my favorite of your outfits too.
But Bill, hello. Bill, you were old school. I think in the book you mentioned this was your fave, huh?
Yeah, the first season navy blue outfit. It's the simplest of the ones. I know it sounds ridiculous in a way, but obviously I felt that color combination went best with my complexion and my hair. I guess the second season orange one is in a way the most iconic Will Robinson look from the old show, but I preferred the less is more simple blue velour look there. Yeah.
Nobody really knew that was blue because it was black and white, right?
Right. Yeah, it's true. Guy's was blue, same palette as mine. Mark's was similar, but was a much grayer blue. Jonathan, of course, originally wore that military jumpsuit, and then he switched to for a few episodes, they had him in something that was kind of yellow, and he immediately refused to continue shooting with that because it wasn't slimming enough for him. So he went to the dark blue.
Right. Yeah, I just threw up a picture of it's been colorized, I believe, but this is a birthday party. I think that's your birthday party, actually, Bill. So you guys have to celebrate birthdays on set there. And that gives you, I guess, an idea. That's an approximation of what the...
Yeah, but that outfit of mine was not yellow like that. It was more brown.
Brownish.
Like see in the corner there, where it's brown on the wall.
Yep.
That was not, I don't know why I was in that brown. That was not one of my favorites. But that was first season.
Right.
So you can really see it. I guess for black and white, it actually photographed really well.
That's the thing, right? You got to take that into account, I suppose, if you're dealing with black and white it does make a difference. And then third season, you get another color palette change, and now we've got these pastel purples and pinks and yellows and everything. I think I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this was maybe Jonathan's favorite outfit.
Well, Jonathan wanted the black for slimming purposes. And actually, I won't say that it caused any much of a large brouhaha in any way, but Guy wanted the black because Guy had worn black as Zorro.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he felt a little proprietorial about that color, and he wanted the black, and Jonathan got the black.
Huh. And my hair, see, this is a couple of episodes where I had long hair.
Right.
They said it looked like a shawl and said that I had to wear it up, much to some people's dismay. However, it was hip at the time, That's what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you look great.
Everybody looks great.
Long hair.
No, I was saying the short hair.
No, I love the long hair. Yeah.
No, I know you do.
Yeah. If I had my druthers, I'd pick an outfit. Of course, who am I? But, I have favorites for each of the characters, but they're not all from any given season. So I think that's kind of neat but it seemed like you had to have a theme every season. There had to be sort of a matching color palette to choose from.
Absolutely. All you want to take that one, Ange?
No, go ahead. You have a thought?
Once in a while. All of the costume designs were done by Paul Zasputnevich,
yes,
who was very much Irwin Allen's right-hand man in design of everything. He didn't build any props, but he had a great visual sense for the way everything should flow together. And Paul was the one who designed all of our wardrobe. And the relationship between Paul Zasputnevich and Irwin Allen was very similar to Mr. Burns and Smithers on The Simpsons. I say that with love and affection, but it's absolutely accurate. It's very true. But Paul had a sense of the design, and he wanted things to flow the way he did, and Irwin trusted him explicitly. When I was writing the Lost in Space comic book, as you said, Lane, I tended to ask the illustrators to do a melding of different seasons of wardrobe for the characters. I too had my favorites that was a mishmash from what we had seen before. So yeah, I think you're right.
That's funny. No, that's very cool. And I'm big on the costumes because I kind of notice that things. I always point out what the aliens are wearing too, and they tend to recycle a lot of the keeper outfits seem to show up a lot. The ruler from the challenge seemed to show up a lot on different aliens with slight little twists.
Book with all the
that's why I love it.
Pictures in there because I'm a big continuity wardrobe picture gal. I love them. I love behind the scenes. And those were shot, for every movie and every television show. And I loved finding those for Lost in Space and putting them in the book. And that was fun. And also the cutout pictures are a lot of fun too, that are in the book.
Yeah.
Where they're cutouts of us.
Did they have a staff still photographer on set a lot of the time while you were filming? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they always came in. There was at that time when, it was like the heyday of 20th, because it was like a city unto itself.
Sure.
There was, everything you could possibly want, from the cleaners, and then there was the wardrobe department, the hair department, and the portrait department, and the photography used to, the photographer used to go around and shoot pictures of everybody on different sets, on different projects that were going on the lot. I actually wrote a book called Styling the Stars, which I was so excited to kind of discover these boxes of continuity pictures in the archives of 20th Century Fox Studios. It took me 2.5 years to go through those. With Tom McLaren, who also, thank God, he was had accounting background, so he was able to log a lot of the stuff. But there was dust on those boxes and stuff like that, and found pictures that for every single movie and every single television show, there is a photographer who comes and shoots so that you'll match in the next scene.
Right.
You're wearing the same wardrobe. I didn't mean to get off on that, but
no, it's a great book. It's a nice, it's like a coffee table size book, and it's got some beautiful, beautiful photographs. That was a golden age of cinema there at Fox and everything.
Oh, it was. And the photographs are so high quality. They're usually a 2.25 camera that they used to come with. And we have pictures like that from Lost in Space too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The show got the same treatment.
Yeah, it's great.
Styling the Stars is a wonderful book, and you did a great job on that, Ange. And in the old days, I would say really until the 80s, pretty much, almost every studio lot was very much like its own contained little township. There's a hospital, there's security, there's every kind of machine shop and prop shop and wardrobe that you can imagine to build all of these sets that they were constantly building. Right. All of the studios had vast back lots with, whether they were lakes or mountainous air. It was a completely different era that we worked in. The studio lots now have either been sold or shrunk. Pieces have been sold off. I suppose Universal still has its main size, and the Disney lot is the only one that's pretty much the same as it was in the old days. But it was a very special time to work in television and film when the lots were kind of autonomous, with their own everything. It was like being Street.
Hello Dolly, New York town. I mean, you could just walk, like a couple feet and you'd be in a new place. It was a great time.
It was a great time, and it's almost like you had to have a passport in a way.
Uh-huh.
If you're under contract to the studio, any studio, then you're welcome in that world. And if you did not have a contract to be working at that studio, either as a guest artist or as a regular or as a feature film, whatever, you couldn't enter that world. It was completely verboten. You couldn't get into those slots. And so I think Angela and I were kind of like the princess and prince of 20th Century Fox for a good four years or so. Angela had done sound and music the year before, which was a Fox film. The year before Lost in Space, I had done a film called Dear Bridget with Jimmy Stewart, which was a Fox film before Lost in Space. And then we stayed on the lot in school together for another year or so after Lost in Space wrapped. So it was a magnificent experience to kind of grow up for a while in that very special and very private environment.
Very magical.
And that world is gone now, right? I mean, it's totally different now.
Totally different.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of documented it a little bit in the book here. Well, a lot, in the book. So it's a great thing that you've done, and you've shared those memories and everything. I know I'm being greedy with your time, but I have to get just a couple more pictures here, because I've been dying to ask you both about this question, because you have a little section in the book called Fire in the Hole. And this was another mainstay of Lost in Space. Now
that's a good one.
That is a good one here. This is from season 2's The Golden Man, and the war has just broken out, and you
that was Angela, Christmas when we put up all the Christmas lights.
It's funny, but there's a gigantic flash powder explosion going off behind you and Jonathan, and I guess you're kind of acting scared, but Jonathan really looks scared there.
Our prop guys were great. The guy who did the what are they called?
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah. He only had 4 fingers on one hand. So you kind of were a little sketchy when you kind of, when you'd say, okay, and then there's going to be a big explosion behind you,
Uh-huh.
This was not CGI. We didn't even have CGI. Everything was real. And, very easily we could have, there's Bill getting a shower of sparks. It's really kind of amazing that we were allowed to do this sometimes.
It is
kind of in awe.
It looks dangerous. It looks dangerous.
I mean, it was dangerous, I think.
I honestly do think Lost in Space had more pyrotechnic effects than any other show on television in the mid 60s. Maybe Mission Impossible, but basically we used a lot of gunpowder all the time. And as Angela was saying, I mean, that shot that's up there right now shows you how close we were to a lot of different explosions. Stu Moody was the name of our special effects head. And Stu, I hate to correct you, Angela, but he only had had three fingers on his I don't remember which hand it was.
Wow.
But Jonathan Harris, two things. One, he had a great philosophy, which was never deny a stunt person a check. So if he had the opportunity to say his stunt double was a wonderful guy named Harry, and if he had the opportunity, Handsome Harry, if he had the opportunity to say, well, I'm not comfortable in this shot, I want Harry to do it. Well, that meant Harry got a boost, a different check, a stunt bump check. So Jonathan's philosophy was if he could pass some more money on to his double, then he would. And I appreciate that very much. But on the other hand, Jonathan also hated being around the smoke and the fire and the loudness and the pyrotechnics. He really was not truly comfortable doing it. And he would be, when he had to be in it because of the camera, he would always go to Stu Moody. Well, Moody, is it safe? And Stu Moody would go like this. like try to give Jonathan the A sign, but his hand was so mangled that he couldn't quite manipulate it to look very good, and Jonathan would just go, oh!
It's not very comforting, is it?
No, it was not very comforting at all. And when we were writing the book, Bill and I reflected on the fact that the bloop, who was a chimp, really was involved in a lot of these explosions and stuff. And I was holding that chimp, and she just was rock solid. She never went screaming or she didn't attack me because she was scared to death. There she is, bless her heart. She actually went on to do Doctari.
Right.
And, they had a mold of her face for Planet of the Apes. She had a very illustrious career. And bless her heart, she had to have that stupid hat on all the time, which probably really got on her nerves. But she became a very loving character. People love her. And that top, Bill, was not lime green like that. I'm just saying.
I guarantee you that in today's world, there's no way they would have let us do the scenes we did with the explosions holding Debbie the chimpanzee. Because let's face it, she could have ripped our faces off at any point in time. Now, she never did. She was, as Angela says, she was a trooper and very steady. But, when you're holding a wild animal and they don't know, the animals don't know that in, 20 seconds into the shot, something right next to you is going to explode and sparks are going to fly all over you.
Right.
I don't think we would be allowed to, kids would be allowed to do that today. I really don't.
And
but
you have to buy oh, go ahead. I was just going to say that you'll have to buy our book to find out the story of the llama. The llama lost his job, but you'll have to get our book, Lost and Found in Space 2.
Lost and Found in Space 2. I don't even think I said the title. So
yes, blast off into the expanded edition. And there it is, purple.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it is. 353 pages with a purple cover. No home should be without.
Yep, that's right. Take you back and enjoy the memories. I love it when parents say, oh, and we've started, because it's still on television. I introduced my kids to it. Actually, my daughter sent me a video the other day that I looked at, and all three of her kids are sitting on the couch with the little blankets around them. And it's a Lost in Space episode they're watching. And it was so cute. And then it was like right before it went to the music, and it said something, a danger, danger. And they all turned to the camera. It's the cutest little clip. I thought, okay, another generation. There you go.
Yeah, my co-host that I do the episode reviews with, Kurt, he's got two little daughters. I think they might be 5 and 8, but they're young, and they've been watching as we've been going through the series. They've been watching the episodes, and he always gets a charge out of the fact let's face it, a lot of those monsters aren't too scary, but when they hear that music,
It's good.
they go run next to Daddy and go, "Oh, something scary is about to happen." This
Yep.
goes
I'd
back to what
rather
you're
those
saying.
young kids watch that than some of the stuff that's on today. But you got to find it on the cable.
A lot of people have thought that it was Jonathan Harris's personal choices that led to the show becoming more campy and more fantasy driven and comedic than the original tone of the series, which was very much adventurous and science fiction. But that really isn't true. What happened was the series originally aired at 7:30 on Wednesdays in what CBS deemed as the family hour,
Right.
and that they started getting quite a bit of communication and letters from people who felt that the young kids watching Lost in Space were getting too scared. So it was a mandate from the network that said, you got to tone Lost in Space down. It's too scary for the time slot that it's in. And so that was a catalyst for Jonathan shifting the character of Smith into more of a comedic character. But he's taken a lot of, flack in a way for that over the decades. Like, oh, he was the one responsible for the tone change. And it really wasn't. It was a network mandate.
Fake news. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, sadly for us fans, the show did wrap after 3 seasons. We were all, hoping there'd be a fourth, but as you tell the story in the book, the Lost in Space remained part of your lives, and they've got a lot of chapters about the Lost in Space related things that you were into, the conventions, the comic books that you were doing, just a whole bunch of stuff. That's also a continuation of the story. It's so amazing, though, to me that this series has endured the way it has for 50. What are we going to be? The 57th anniversary,
Yeah.
I think, coming up in September.
Yeah. And 1965.
Yeah. What? And I got to say something. I loved Lost in Space as a kid, but I had no idea the fan base that's out there until I started doing this podcast, and how there are people out there that are just diehard Lost in Space fans. What do you think is the secret sauce that still makes it so important to so many people, Bill?
The arena of the show is such a vast area for the imagination to soar in. When you set your canvas as uncharted alien worlds with unknown beings anywhere you want to go, it's a great place to play. I think there was a real special connection between the cast as a real that resonates as real family, and you can't cast that consciously. It happens sometimes on a show, or it just doesn't happen, and it definitely happened on our show. We all really connected like family, and I think that resonates on some kind of subconscious, soulful level with the audience. If you're a little kid, Will Robinson and Penny Robinson, they're little superheroes. They're great characters to say, I want to be like that.
Absolutely.
And if you're of an older mindset, you can see the show now for the ridiculous campy humor that Jonathan and the robot at times brought to it. And you can watch it through the eyes of a child and kind of see it believably, or you can watch it from the eyes of an adult and go, I can't believe they got away with this. It's so crazy. And again, the music endures. So, I don't exactly know why it's continued to make so many people happy for so long, but I'm glad that it has. And if our book can bring a little happiness and distractions from the reality prime that we're all in, that's a good thing. And I'm thankful that we could bring that to the world.
Oh,
and it did inspire a lot of people to get into the space program. I think, I know that when Bill and I went and we watched a liftoff at NASA, we had so many technicians come up to us and say, your show inspired me to get into the space program. I mean, I wanted to go to space after I watched it. And we heard that and have consistently over the years heard that again and again. And I think at the time, we hadn't even walked on the moon at the time. And it just sparked the idea that there were other worlds and aliens, and we're still in that same place today.
Yep.
I mean, we're still no closer. It's maybe we are, I don't know, but I'm beginning to wonder whether there are any people that aren't aliens around anymore. But it's, I think that is something that always captures people's imaginations. And it wasn't mindless because you kind of always wanted to know what was beyond. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Now we know there's giant talking carrots beyond.
Absolutely. And celery.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Angela, I just interviewed a guy, a PhD in astronomy, who teaches physics and astronomy at Hampton-Sydney College. This hasn't published yet, but it'll be released sometime down the road. A guy named Dr. Stephen Bloom. And his earliest childhood memories that he talked about were watching his parents plopped him down in front of the TV in 1969 to watch Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon and watching Lost in Space. And we had a long discussion about, the wacky science and or lack of science in some of these Lost in Space episodes. But he said something really, which I thought was kind of profound. It's like, it's nice when science fiction teaches you some science, but the main thing it's trying to do is entertain you. And I think Lost in Space did that beautifully. So I think that's a tip of the hat to the original Lost in Space. I just think it's beautiful that you guys ended your book. The last page of the book is a beautiful collage of both of your families, the kids, the grandkids, and everything, because I think that's also kind of part of the secret sauce, is the fact that Lost in Space, it was about a family, in space that loved each other, cared for each other. They had one little rascal. They were always having to give a second chance, but they did. And I think there's something really heartwarming about that. So I really appreciated that you added that page. You have beautiful families, by the way, and I know you got to be just proud as you could be about that.
No,
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are very blessed indeed. We are aware of that. But Lane, can I tell your people that have been listening to this podcast about our special offer that we came up with just for them? Can we tell them?
I was waiting for that. Please do. I'm excited.
So I will tell you what we are going to offer. If you order the deluxe autographed edition of Lost and Found in Space, blast off into the expanded edition, go to angelacartwrightstudio.com. It's on the first page. You can click right on it. And you will get a 20% discount on this book. We both have signed the book, and we will personalize it if you want. You can put that into the text box, and you have to put in the coupon code, and the coupon code, Josie B, is Alpha Control. Okay.
Alpha Control.
Alpha Control.
Alpha Control.
So only people that listen to your podcast, Alpha Control, will be able to get the special offer. And that's not all. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
Wait.
And there is also 6 trading cards that Bill and I created to have these special trading cards in a little packet. And we will include that if you put in Alpha Control.
Oh, wow.
20% off. You get the trading cards, and all you have to do in the coupon is put Alpha Control.
I think they can
personalize, put to whom.
Right. Oh, that is so generous of y'all. That's a great deal, folks. So don't forget that. And that's a limited time offer though now, right? That's
very limited, only through the month of February.
All right.
It's a great Valentine's gift, let me tell you, for your loved one. Who doesn't want a Lost in Space?
Everybody.
For Valentine's Day.
Everybody.
Happy Valentine's. Happy Valentine's Day, dear. What? What? Does not compute.
Wow.
Danger. All right.
Uh,
Alpha Control's the coupon code. AngelaCartwrightStudio.com. Got pictures there too. Got some pictures. Bill signs. He's on there also. Kind
That's
of scurry
great.
around. Got my jewelry, my clothing. So there you have it.
We just appreciate that so much, and you know the book is worth it at full price, I have to say. But it's a great offer, and I know all our listeners that don't already have one. Hey, buy another one, because like I said, this is going to be worth maybe $10,000 on Amazon in a few years. Who knows, right?
When our time is done, these will be worth a lot.
Wow.
It's like Bitcoin for your Lost in Space.
There you go.
Yes.
Go. Well, I think Bill and Angela, that is a beautiful, perfect note to end our conversation on. I want to give you guys the opportunity, if there's anything else that you've got coming up that you'd like to talk about or promote. I apologize. I really wanted to discuss, what you're doing. Angela, I guess you're still doing your trips to, are they back on now? The trips you're doing to Austria with the Sound of Music tour?
Well,
or is
God willing, we'll be going in May, and for a wonderful spring in Salzburg. The trip is still on at this point, and it's going to be awesome because there's a lot of things you can do in spring. I do it every year. We go to all the places in Salzburg where we shot the movie The Sound of Music, and I tell all the tales and the behind-the-scenes stories of what happened when we shot, and we sing and we have a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great.
That is still on, and you can go to crafttours.com to find that trip. And also just doing my art and looking after my grandkids and having a blast.
That's great. And Bill, I know you and the Action Skulls put out an album back a year ago or so, wasn't it? It was 2020, I think, fall of 2020. Have you got any other music projects in the works right now we should be looking out for?
I do. Barnes and Barnes reunited for a brand new album that was released last month.
Oh, wow.
Pancake Dream. And there's a full 13 videos to go along with all of the songs on the album. So that's available out there on Demented Punk Records. And can't take the space out of me. I'm a producer on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens series.
Oh, wow.
And we just started. Yeah, I've been doing that for 5 seasons now.
That's great.
And we just launched the new season. We're 2 episodes into the new season. So, that's a very fun and interesting and enlightening project to be a part of. And I'm working on some other music projects here in my studio because I never go anywhere.
I love it.
Everything's good.
That's wonderful. And definitely folks should check all that stuff out. That's very cool. I just have to mention one other thing, and I know I'm being very greedy with your time, but when I saw you guys in Boston at that convention, you put on a concert on, I think it was on the Saturday night or whatever. It was absolutely wonderful. I wish I had taped that. I don't know if someone was taping it for you, but it was brilliant. You were performing I think most of those were just your own original compositions, I believe. Yeah. And that was
so many CDs. And you can get those on the site under the Mumy Mall.
Okay, we're going to link to everybody's websites. Yeah. Mary gave me a whole list of things that I need to put on the show notes. So like I said, folks, check all that stuff out. Don't forget about the special 20% off coupon through the end of February. And at this point, unless there's anything else, Angela, Bill, I'll just say thank you so much for taking all this time out to sit and talk to me. And I just really had a blast. This has been a great treat. And I know it's going to be a treat for our listeners. So thank you so much.
So long
farewell. Thank you kindly.
All right.
Thank you, Lane. You travel safe out there.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace out. That was such a blast speaking with the warm and engaging Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy. Now don't forget that from now until the end of February 2022, you can get 20% off the deluxe autographed edition of their new book, Lost and Found in Space 2, using the coupon code Alpha Control at ncpbooks.com. You'll find the link in our show notes below. In the meantime, we will be back next time with another episode of Alpha Control, where Kurt and I will get back to reviewing our beloved original Lost in Space. Until then, Take care, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, fellow Galactic Castaways, for listening to the Alpha Control Podcast. Please leave your comments or questions on our Facebook page, Twitter, or email us at alphacontrolpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to the podcast via libsyn.com, that's libsyn.com, or through iTunes. If you like the show, please leave us a review as well. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel.